Why Donald Trump's life is unlike any other. Donald Trump's life is the kind of story that sounds like a movie, but it's all real. He was born into a wealthy family, built a business empire, became a famous TV personality, and then shocked the world by becoming the President of the United States. Whether you like him or not, there's no denying that his journey is one of the most unusual in modern history. He grew up in Queens, New York, in a home of strict rules and high expectations. His father was a real estate developer who taught him how to make deals and build power. From a young age, Trump learned to speak with confidence, to aim big, and never back down. That attitude followed him for the rest of his life. As a young man, he didn't just want to work for his father, he wanted to go beyond him. He moved into Manhattan, a much tougher and flashier world, and started buying buildings. His biggest move was building the Trump Tower, tall, gold, and impossible to ignore. He didn't just sell apartments, he sold his name. Trump became a brand, bold, rich, and everywhere. But Donald Trump didn't stop with real estate. He wanted fame. He wanted a bigger audience. So he stepped into television. In 2004, he became the star of a new show called The Apprentice. Millions watched each week as he judged contestants, gave sharp advice, and made the phrase "you're fired" a national catchphrase. Trump wasn't just a businessman anymore. He was a celebrity. And then, just when people thought they had seen it all, he did something no one expected. In 2015, Donald Trump announced he was running for president. Most people laughed. Experts said he had no chance. He had no political experience, no traditional support. But he had something else. He knew how to speak to people. He used simple language. He used strong emotions. He promised change, and many people believed him. In 2016, against all predictions, he won. Donald Trump became the 45th President of the United States. His style didn't change. He spoke his mind, often through Twitter. He made bold decisions. He caused headlines every day. Some saw him as a fighter for the forgotten. Others saw him as a threat to democracy, but no one ignored him. That's what makes his story different. He didn't follow the rules. He didn't take the usual path, but he got where he wanted to go. This is not just a story about politics. It's about fame, confidence, and how one man turned his image into global power. Now let's go back to where it all began. From the Golden Tower to national spotlight, Donald Trump was born in 1946 in Queens, New York City. His father, Fred Trump, was a successful real estate developer who built homes for working-class families. From a young age, Donald learned how to deal with money, how to make deals, and how to think big. But even then, he was different from his father. Fred was quiet and careful. Donald was loud, bold, and always wanted more. As a child, he was full of energy and often got into trouble. His parents sent him to military school at age 13, hoping it would teach him discipline. It did, but it also gave him something else: confidence and a desire to lead. After finishing school, he studied economics at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. While there, he worked with his father and began learning the real estate business from the inside out. But Donald didn't want to stay in Queens building low-cost homes. He had his eyes on Manhattan. Manhattan was a different world, full of powerful people, rich investors, tall buildings, and big names. Most people thought it was too risky for a young developer to step into that world. But Donald didn't listen. He believed he could do it. His first big project was the Grand Hyatt Hotel near Grand Central Station. The area was old and almost falling apart. But Donald saw potential. He made deals with banks, convinced the city to help, and turned the broken-down building into a luxury hotel. It was a huge success. Suddenly, people in Manhattan started to pay attention to him. But the project that truly made him famous was Trump Tower. Trump Tower was more than a building. It was a statement. Located on Fifth Avenue, in one of the most expensive areas in the city, the tower was tall, shiny, and full of gold. It had shops, restaurants, offices, and luxury apartments. It had a waterfall inside and a doorman in a gold uniform. And most importantly, it had his name, Trump, in big letters. He wasn't just building property anymore, he was building a brand. From that point on, everything he touched had his name on it. Trump Plaza, Trump Castle, Trump International, Trump Golf, Trump University. He even sold Trump steaks and Trump vodka. To some, this was smart branding. To others, it was ego. But for Donald Trump, the message was clear. If it had his name, it had power. Trump also understood the media. He gave interviews, appeared in magazines, and made sure cameras followed him. He became known not just as a businessman, but as a celebrity. People watched his every move, his fashion, his relationships, his opinions. He wasn't afraid to say what he thought, and that made headlines. But not everything went smoothly. In the 1990s, Donald Trump faced huge business problems. He borrowed too much money. Several of his companies went bankrupt. Critics said he was finished. But he didn't give up. He restructured his debts, made new deals, and slowly came back. He once said, "Sometimes by losing a battle you find a new way to win the war." That's how he saw failure, not as the end, but as a lesson. By the early 2000s, Donald Trump was back on top. He was richer, more famous, and more confident than ever. And he was about to step into a whole new spotlight, the one on national television. The business star who became a TV icon. By the early 2000s, Donald Trump was more than just a businessman. He was already a public figure. His name was on buildings, his face was in magazines, and people knew his voice. But he wanted more. He didn't just want to be rich. He wanted to be seen, heard, and remembered. That's when television came calling. In 2004, Trump became the star of a new reality TV show called The Apprentice. The idea was simple but powerful. A group of young business-minded people would compete in weekly challenges, and Trump would decide who stayed and who went. The winner would get a job in his company. The losers would hear two words that became famous: "You're fired." The show was a hit. Millions of people watched every week. They loved the drama, the competition, and most of all, they loved watching Trump in charge. He wore a sharp suit, sat at the head of a long table, and gave direct, often brutal feedback. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He told people exactly what he thought. And that made him different. Trump used the show to build something bigger: his image. Each episode was a chance to show that he was tough, smart, and confident. He gave advice. He made bold statements. He talked about success and failure in a way people remembered. To many, he became the face of ambition. But The Apprentice wasn't just entertainment, it was marketing. Every time someone watched the show, they saw the Trump brand. The buildings, the helicopters, the lifestyle. It sent a clear message: Trump equals success. And he made sure the message spread far and wide. He also knew how to keep attention. He created moments. Whether it was a sudden firing, a dramatic boardroom meeting, or a surprise challenge, people talked about it. News shows covered it. Late-night hosts joked about it. And Trump? He smiled, knowing his brand was growing. Over time, Trump became more than a TV star. He became a symbol. For some, he stood for confidence, wealth, and the American dream. For others, he was a sign of ego and power. But once again, no one ignored him. He used his fame to write more books. Titles like Think Big, The Art of the Deal, and How to Get Rich became bestsellers. In those pages, he shared stories of success, but also shaped his own myth, the self-made billionaire, the ultimate winner. Behind the scenes, he still ran businesses. Some did well, others failed. He opened golf courses, launched products, even tried his own university. Not all of it worked, and critics were never far behind. But Trump stayed focused. He didn't let criticism slow him down. He had learned something powerful. If people are talking about you, you're winning. Good press or bad press, it didn't matter, as long as he stayed in the spotlight. By the early 2010s, Donald Trump was everywhere. And slowly, a new idea started to grow. He had the money, he had the fame, he had the attention. Why not try something even bigger? Politics. He had talked about it before, even joked about running for president. But now, the thought felt real. He had fans, a message, and a platform. And in 2015, he would make a decision that changed history. President Trump, power, policy, and polarization. In June 2015, Donald Trump stepped onto the stage in Trump Tower and announced he was running for President of the United States. He spoke with confidence, without notes, and in a way no one had seen before in politics. He said, "Make America great again." And those 4 words became a powerful slogan. At first, many people thought it was a publicity stunt. Political experts laughed. Other candidates didn't take him seriously. But Trump didn't care. He traveled across the country, held rallies, and spoke directly to the people. His message was simple, emotional, and often controversial. He promised to bring jobs back, to protect American borders, to fight against what he called the swamp in Washington. And most importantly, he said what he believed, even if it made headlines for the wrong reasons. The media followed his every move. Every speech, every tweet, every moment became news. Some loved him for being honest and bold. Others saw him as dangerous and divisive. But no one could ignore him. In 2016, against all odds, Donald Trump won the election. He became the 45th President of the United States. It was one of the most shocking political moments in modern history. As president, Trump continued to break the usual rules. He used Twitter as a daily tool to speak to the public. He fired staff often, sometimes in public. He didn't follow the normal style of diplomacy or politics. Some called it refreshing. Others called it chaos. He focused on big promises. He cut taxes. He changed trade deals. He pushed for a border wall. He picked conservative judges. He removed the U.S. from international agreements. His supporters said he was finally putting America first. His critics said he was isolating the country and creating conflict. But perhaps the most defining part of his presidency was how divided the country became. People no longer just disagreed. They argued with emotion. Families, friends, and co-workers often clashed over their views on Trump. He became a symbol. For some, he was the voice of the people. For others, he was a threat to democracy. Then came 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic hit the world, and the U.S. was deeply affected. Trump held daily press briefings, sometimes with scientists, sometimes alone. He pushed for fast reopenings, questioned experts, and used strong language toward China and the media. That same year, protests broke out across the country after the killing of George Floyd. Trump took a strong law and order stance. His response was praised by some and criticized by many. The country was hurting, and the leadership felt more divided than ever. In November 2020, Trump lost the election to Joe Biden, but he refused to accept the result. He claimed there was fraud, without solid proof. His supporters believed him. Lawsuits were filed, but courts found no major issues. The situation grew worse on January 6, 2021. A group of Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol trying to stop the election certification. It was a dark day in American history. Trump was blamed for encouraging the crowd with his words. He was impeached for the second time, the only president in history to be impeached twice. Even after leaving office, Donald Trump remained powerful. He held rallies, supported new candidates, and continued to speak loudly. His influence in American politics didn't disappear. In fact, for many, it grew. Trump's presidency changed the way people saw leadership. He didn't follow tradition. He used media like no one else. He created strong reactions, positive and negative, wherever he went. Whether you see his time in office as success or disaster, there's no denying the impact. He changed the conversation. He challenged the system. And he showed that one person, with the right message and confidence, can shake the world. What his story really teaches us. Donald Trump's life is not easy to sum up. He has been called many things: a billionaire, a showman, a leader, a troublemaker. Some people see him as a hero who spoke the truth. Others see him as someone who divided the country. But no matter how you view him, there's one thing that's true. He made the world pay attention. Trump didn't follow the normal path. He didn't start at the bottom. He didn't play by the rules. He didn't try to please everyone. In fact, many times he did the opposite. He said what he thought, even when it made people angry. He used media in new ways. He understood how to control attention, and he never stopped pushing forward. That kind of attitude, bold, direct, sometimes reckless, is both what made him successful and what made him so controversial. It shows us that confidence, when used well, can open doors. But when used carelessly, it can also break things. His life also shows us the power of brand. Donald Trump turned his name into a symbol. For years, his name stood on buildings, products, and shows. Later, it stood on political signs and campaign hats. He used that brand to build trust with some people and to spark strong feelings in others. Trump also reminded the world that many people felt left behind. His speeches didn't use big words. He didn't talk like a politician. He talked like someone at the dinner table, like a neighbor with a loud opinion. And many people felt he was finally saying what they had been thinking for years. But with that power came responsibility and consequences. He also showed how much words matter. A single tweet from him could move markets or start debates. His tone could unite his supporters or stir up anger. In a time when information moves fast, Trump reminded us that leaders don't just guide, they influence emotions, reactions, and even history. His story teaches us about risk. He ran for president when most thought he had no chance. He built towers when others said he couldn't. He launched businesses even after failing. That kind of boldness takes courage, and not everyone has it. But the story also teaches us the importance of listening. Many of Trump's actions made people feel unseen or unheard. A great leader doesn't just speak, he listens. And in the end, the best leaders are the ones who unite, not divide. For people learning English or learning leadership, his story gives us useful lessons. Be confident, but also humble. Take risks, but think about the people affected. Build your name, but don't forget your purpose. Speak your truth, but listen to others too. Love him or hate him, Donald Trump's story leaves a mark. He didn't just play the game, he changed it. And in doing so, he showed us the power of being bold, the danger of being careless, and the importance of understanding those we lead. His story is still being written. But for now, we can pause, reflect, and ask ourselves, what kind of voice do we want in the world? And what kind of legacy do we want to leave behind?